parents, mom and dad. So one of them named him Michael, the other one called him Malcolm, and that's calm is sort of anagram or inspired by the name Malcolm as well.
I
So
like I
that's
like
that's that's the extent of my knowledge
I like
about the
I,
story of
I
Lion.
like that. Mr. Calm is still Mr. Calm, right? Mr. Calm
And
is, you know,
to be truthful, he's very very calm as well, and cool,
yeah.
calm, collected. That's the calm.
I'm not sure I'm ever gonna get used to calling him Calm. Malcolm was hard enough. But when I say, it's still Michael to me. Even when it changed to Mr. M, that's just awkward to type into LinkedIn because there's many misters. But Mr. M is, thank you for joining us, Michael. I'm just pulling your leg because I like to pull your leg.
Oh well, yeah, but your points are valid, and I will take them and also make adjustments as necessary. Very much thank you for all your points, right there.
Which name are you gonna stick with?
Calm on LinkedIn. Yes,
Yeah, but no,
Miss.
okay. So
I'm
how
not
how
gonna
you
say
gonna how you
Mr.
gonna how you
Calm. I'm just gonna
how,
say
how are you
calm.
gonna do that? Because LinkedIn won't let you. You have to use your real name, your identity document name.
I don't know. They'll have to figure it out themselves.
Well, that's what you can put calm in brackets, but you have to have a name. Mr. M. M. Your surname. You get what?
Yes. My name will be there, obviously.
Okay,
Um, just like you indicated, I would put calm in there as brackets, and
okay.
emphasize the calm, and you'll also help me too.
Emphasize calm. I like that.
No.
Simi, welcome,
Uh,
Simi. To love, I
yeah,
love that. Simi, you're great. Join the studio, Simi. Come and talk to us. I'd love to hear your
salespeople.
thoughts. Because
They're
Simi
gonna
is
have to redo some sort of the adding on the field glass. Yeah, okay. Who are these salespeople? From
The
G or
first
from
who's playing. Who's
Also,
playing? Someone's playing something in the background. Is it
so
you,
they're aware of
Joni?
this. They
It's not
understood the problem.
Joni.
They're aware of this. They
Hold on,
understand the
Michael.
problem.
I think it's
Cool.
Selena.
You're working on your phone.
It's
What
not
is it?
Selena.
Yeah, that's
It's
the work on
neither of
my
those.
phone.
Okay, right.
So it's kind
Oh,
of like,
But so the
hold
speaker
on.
doesn't
Let me
turn
check
on.
my screen.
no, it's just it
Me.
turns on.
I mean, can
When
you
try to
work
get in,
offline?
no,
Basically, the drawings or stuff like that.
no, just forget it.
Right. So I
Or
can
log in.
see
Oh, it
Michael.
doesn't let you go
Okay.
again. Yeah.
Selena. Okay, that's Selena there. Cyrus. I don't know who.
So
Someone's
here's the thing,
playing.
right? I don't know. I hope it gets resolved today, right? Otherwise,
Someone's
ask him
someone's
to
playing in
set
the
you up a
background.
guest account.
Who's playing in the
So that
background?
maybe, basic things like if you're working on a drawing or something, say, okay, somebody send me this drawing with a drive or something like maybe something like
Michael.
that. I don't know.
Yeah, Michael. What are you playing? What are you playing?
Much done. Okay, but maybe a little bit. Okay.
Do that.
If it's gonna get resolved today,
Michael, what are you
I'm
playing in
hoping
the
it will get
background?
resolved today because this is just ridiculous.
just stay on them. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, don't let them if you don't see this coming by lunchtime, call them back.
Okay.
Who is playing something? Thank you. Eventually, it stopped playing. Eventually, it stopped. Okay. I thought I was losing my mind for a second there. How you doing, Joni? So welcome. Joni just keeps falling off. It seems like she's stuck in the bushes. Molly, my favorite friend, Molly. How are you doing? I'm so glad you're here. So I try and remember Molly's name when I do my invites, and I never do. Molly, don't ask me why. It's so The other day I remembered eventually. Her name is Molly. So how you doing, Molly? Thanks for joining us. Of course, I understand. I understand, Simi, you're in a noisy place. Can't talk now. Look, I dream, Simi. I dream. I say I'd love to hear your voice. I'd love to hear everyone's voice, and I hope one day you will join the studio. Who's LinkedIn user? LinkedIn user. LinkedIn. Dr. Yvonne. How you doing, Dr. Yvonne? So I'm looking forward to our next show next week about, I guess, how to beat toxic relationships. That's what we'll talk about in Dr. Yvonne's room. I'm so glad you're here. Dr. Yvonne, join us in the studio and share with us, right? We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic because you do business in Africa and you help people to set up businesses in Africa especially. So Thank you for being here. Who have I missed? I've missed someone. Source 777. I have no idea who you are. Before I come to you, let's talk to Selena. Let's talk to Selena quick, then I come to you. Selena, please say hello to our friends. You're on mute.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. So 777.
Hello.
What is your name?
Oh, my name is Dwayne Pay. I'm the owner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dwayne. Excellent. Great to meet you, Dwayne. We talk on WhatsApp, don't we?
Okay.
We're yet to arrange a meeting, so I'll come to you in a second, Dwayne. Let me let Selena. I tend to work in order in these rooms, otherwise we have chaos, right? So, Selena, yeah, don't have to knock. It's fine, Selena. I can see you. The mic is yours, Selena. The mic is
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Selena.
And Selena, hails from Zimbabwe, right?
Yes.
I know you were there
At the
recently.
moment, I hail from Birmingham.
You poor thing. So I know you were in Zim recently, so I'm sure I know you have a lot of insights to share with us. So that's thanks for being here. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic. So Dwayne, please unmute. How are you doing, Dwayne?
Greetings.
Excellent. I'm so glad you're here. The first time I've seen you at my event, the first time I've seen you on stage as well. So I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, I've been saying a lot. Thank you for inviting me. I just want to say it's good to be amongst great people. So I'm honored to be here.
And that you are, so amongst great people, my friends, they're all amazing. So thank you so much, Molly. I'm sure I spoke brilliantly, or I spoke glowingly about you, Molly. Apart from the fact that I always forget your name when I try and send my invites, but I'm so glad you're here. All right. So for those who know me, those who don't know me, my friends, Dr. Yvonne, I see you on stage. I'm going to come to you in a second. Look. So I am Eni Osang. My company is Global.Media. The link is on the banner. I've learned from Cyrus. Always have your link going past on your events. And what I do, what I was doing this afternoon, is helping people to write their books. So I'm helping one of my new clients write their family story, which is that excites me. I think when the book is done, you will love it. I know you will, because it's an interesting story about family dynamics, and well, I suppose there is something to be said when your half sister is also your cousin. I'll let you work out what that means. I shan't tell you. Okay, there's an echo somewhere. Is it me? Am I playing in the background? It must be me, right? No, that's on mute. I've got one StreamYard. I don't understand what's going on. I'm all lost, my friends. You're all on mute, so I can't hear any of you. What is going on? I have no idea what's going on. Oh, it's not you, Selena. It's not Cyrus. It's not Joni. It's not Dr. Yvonne. It's not Dwayne. Who could it be? Me. It must be me, right? It's not you, Selena. It's not Cyrus. Oh, okay, right. Okay, I worked it out. I worked it out.
Annie. We don't.
It was me. No, it was me on my phone. That's what I'm looking at my screen. What's going on? How are you doing, Joni? Talk to us.
Hi, I'm doing good. I do think it's definitely LinkedIn playing on another computer or something. So
it's playing on my phone. So that's silly me. I didn't quite realize.
It's truly I got kicked off the platform like 10 times. So
yeah. Look,
anyway,
my friends, if you do persist, come back again and again, right?
I tried. Yeah. I only have 9 more minutes. But anyways, I wanted to say hello to my fellow friends. Whisper boy. Whisper. Nothing. Don't worry about it. And
yeah, your British accent, Joni, it doesn't work. You know, the British accent.
but it does.
It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh anyway.
It does. And Michael, if you're out there, and who else is up here?
You mean calm? You have to call him calm from now on, Joni. Oh no, you can booted that again. Dr. Yvonne, how are you doing, superstar? Dr. Yvonne, you're on mute.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right.
How's everybody? Hi, Michael. How's everybody doing?
I'm better for seeing you, I have to say. You know, so thank you so much for joining us. You know, it's always a joy to have you on stage.
Thank you, Annie. It's lovely to be invited.
Yeah, you know, because you're all amazing people, as Dwayne said. You're all remarkable people, and I love to have your thoughts on our topic.
Guys, it's not working for me today. I know I'm gonna get kicked off again. Something's weird going on.
There's something going on with StreamYard on LinkedIn. I agree. There's something weird going
on. It's like for real. Like I will be kicked off. But I want to say hi to everyone and how price sensitivity affects African business. Goodness. I don't know a ton about that, but I grew up in Philly and I had almost all Black friends.
She lost a battery again, only for a second. I'm sure she'll come back again. Luz, I say welcome. I see you. Vanessa, it was great to see you. So I'd love to have your thoughts, my African friends, African-based friends especially. You know, I'd love to know your thoughts on that topic. You know, I value the diaspora's thoughts and views because I think there's something there that we see. We're seeing both sides of the world, so we have different perspective at best of time. Nicholas, I see you as well. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
I have 5 seconds. I know that from my friends who are of African descent and who live in America, they spend a lot of money on like physical, like clothes, hair, nails, cars, and don't save. Like they do not save. They'll go to the end of their line, like the last $2. And like, yo, Joanne.
Oh, yeah, look. What Joan is saying is interesting because I think it is a reality that the issue we're talking about today, and the issue simply is about Africans' attitude to buying. I've moaned and cried about Africans' attitude to money before, right? So yeah, okay, Dwayne's on stage, right? You know, today it's not really an attitude to money. It's it's an African conditions, African ways of being, where buying stuff is it's made like rocket science. I mean, it's trying to pull nail out of a piece of wood with your bare hands. We can't at best of times, right? You know, but as Joni says, though, it's not because we have no money. And this thing about how we see buying stuff follows us around the world, even those in that diaspora. You know, if you gave me $1 or £1 every time I hear an African person I want to do business with, first thing they will say, "Oh, what's the best price?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What's the best price? It's a price. I have a price. Pay the price, my friend." And they're like, "No, I want the best price." I'm like, "There's no best price. There's no lower price." So, but what Africans will do, that Jonas was alluding to, is Africans will spend money on things that make them look good.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Now I'm on my phone, so maybe that will work better. But who knows? There's a big thunderstorm rolling in here, so it could be my fault.
Yeah, no, keep safe. So I'm glad you're here. Let's see how long you last for this time, Joni.
Well, it's supposed to be sunny later, so I think I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Jeez Louise.
Look, I'll come back to your points, Joni. I think you made very Where am I? Where am I? So, Dwayne.
I think what I because like we just signed a deal in Sierra Leone for waste to revenue project. But what I found when I was, even going after procurements and those things and dealing with it, what I found is the mimicry of business. It's like they I'm not speaking for all, mind you, just my experience. Okay, felt like they was doing business not from what they knew, but from what they seen and was trying to fill in the gaps, which caused anomaly type of responses that didn't resonate with the level of business. But when you look deeper and understand how they was affected by the Westerners, and then I then identified with the disconnect. You understand what I'm saying? And we're seeing a residue of the great deception, the plan. So I can't blame them. I blame the root. And what we're feeling right now is is that plan and what it has done. And we have to re-engineer that. So what I did was I embraced my brothers and sisters and realized that, and now I have to show them the real structure because this is my Western intelligence coming home. And I believe once someone sits down and walk them through it, then the mimicry would stop because they're trying to make sure they say the right things that they think they're supposed to do while doing business. That ain't business. And I will yield my time there.
Yeah. No, again, I think there's something there, right? So I think there's something there for sure. Now, where are you doing? I thought you in US. Where are you in the world?
Yeah, I'm in Queens, New York, United States, New York City.
Yeah,
Okay. So okay.
I can
All right.
understand that. I can understand that point a lot. So yeah, I think I just like my generation, so 40 plus, have had the opportunity to do a lot of just education and learning how to really put a business together, let's say. So it's changing, but I do not think my parents' generation for Black Americans really got the exact schooling that white Americans did. So I really do understand that, and so yeah, valid point, valid point.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. So this issue, I don't know. It's hard to say. But let me say it the way I understand. Right, African delight in their way of being. They, like,
Yeah,
this this
and
this why
maybe that's
this
that's
why
that's what's important. What
yeah. I mean,
makes Africans so great?
no, but the delight in the way they do trade. They delight in the fact that they make it so hard to sell anything to them. They delight in torturing a business owner of the business itself that wants to sell them something. And I'll explain
They
all
got
of it.
hustle, yo. They got
Yeah, I'll explain
hustle.
it. As
That's
we
a
go
great
along,
thing.
I will explain more. And that's a journey.
My
Let me go back.
friend's got hustle. She was like from nothing in the projects of Philly, and she started her own clothing business, and now she's one of like the biggest designers in New York City. She got so much hustle. I was like, girl, Janelle, I remember when we were in Cancun, and you were just a skinny little thing, and just I so proud to call her my friend. But yeah, her family is first generation Nigerian, so I
Right, right.
just it's a different way.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joni. You get the idea that I'm not lying when I say to you, this is our condition. It's how we be. It's who we are. Again, I don't know. No, I do know. The reason I'm talking about this today is because I think there are consequences for the way that we think we like to buy as Africans. There are consequences that harm our businesses, that harm our professionals who want to get paid what they're worth. And it also harms our communities because look, let's face truth, my friends.
I agree.
For a community a community to work, to grow, to get now for things to improve for all of us, we need the first thing, right? That first thing is called we need to have businesses. What's the point of having businesses because they can't create jobs like they do in other parts of the world when we refuse to pay their prices, when we refuse to pay business the price of the service of products, what are we playing at? We're just trying to, we're stifling everything. We're stifling growth. We're stifling the profitability. We're stifling the job creation. We're beating ourselves. This is
Now,
my problem today.
I think if I could chime in on that, I think it boils down to selfishness. You see, because at the end of the day, you have to be mindful of your ripple effect. And that's being conscious of your decisions and how it affects the next person's better, greater good. See, when you're focusing on your actions ripple and how it helps the next person in front of you, on the side of you, or in back of you, then that re-engineers what you're talking about is the problem. You see what I'm saying? See, because like I said, we always got to bring it back to the systematic betrayal, what we've been abused and exposed to. This is that residue. It is to be confused is to forget the history. To not see the ripple effect and still be confused is really not to understand what took place and why they did it in the first place. It was for this confusion. It was to sit up here and have for us to have this conversation. And I'll stop there and yield back my
Yeah.
time. That is what I wanted to put on the table.
No, thank you so much, my friend. Like I say, like that. I don't know whether there's someone else who's done it to us because it seems like we delight in being like this, Dwayne. We delight in being hard to sell to. We delight. I know there's some good reasons, but there's also, I think, as you're saying, there's consequences, ripple effects, right? And so often the biggest losers are us as Africans. We lose the most because nothing works the way it should. Nothing works the way we want. Everything goes into decline when we want to be growing and thriving, but we don't because people will not pay our price. People will not do the right thing. It's a problem for me. It's a problem. I run a business, right? And I guess there's a mindset thing in here somewhere, my friend. What goes around comes around. If you won't pay someone's price, then they won't pay yours either. If you won't pay what someone's worth, why would they pay what you're worth? So we're doing ourselves in. Dr. Yvonne, I do want to come to you. I do want to hear your thoughts. Let me welcome Bridget, the super author of Girl, Fix Your Crown. That's her book. Welcome, madam. I'm so glad you're here. I haven't seen you for a while. It was great to see you. So thank you for joining us. And Tamrat, I see you as well. Tamrat says, good morning, Africa isn't price sensitive by nature. Tamrat, you're wrong. It is. I know there's 52 countries. Look, it's a problem all over Africa. Maybe some places less than others. It says, as Tamrat says, we're income sensitive. Of course, I agree. When people earn more, their choices change. Totally agree with you, my friend. You're 100%. You're right. Those who have more money, those who have more knowledge, earn more money, and they spend more. Yes, but they still make the process absolutely horrid for businesses, African businesses especially. The local markets, Tamara, they do this every day. I'm not lying to you. Look at the research. I'll talk more about this as we go, Tamrat. But you say a teacher's monthly salary shows it shows it's about affordability, not unwillingness. Price sensitivity often reflects economic realities, not mindset. Tamrat. Okay, right. Again, look, our price thing doesn't occur in isolation. Let me say that out loud, right? So again, part of the reason why we have this price sensitivity, lack of willingness to pay the price that things are worth. Now, premium products and services we want on cheap. It's because we have this mindset of sticking with the comfortable, not wanting to earn more. Tamrat. I mean, when you talk about teachers, for example, teachers in Africa are paid peanuts. I agree. They're paid a pittance of what they're worth. Change jobs. Go and get a different job, but they won't. They love the comfort of, now I'm going to stick with it. And I'll haggle for everything and I'll talk every price down. I can't afford anything because I can't earn more. You can earn more. Move. I hear what you're saying, Tamrat. This is a passionate argument from my perspective. I'm sure you can see, right? Let me welcome you, Selassie, as well. Price sensitivity determined in Africa by how people will perceive your products and services. And I agree with you. Look, I'm not going to stand here and say it's all bad, right? We all want value for money, my friend Selassie. I get it. We don't want to be scammed. We don't want to buy fake things. I know. But even when we're in the diaspora, this disease follows us, Selassie. This is my point.
Can I say something?
It follows us. That's not right. Go, Selena, I hear you. Let me go to
No,
Dr. Yvonne.
sometimes I think people, they don't want to buy from those people they know.
Which is odd.
It's like when they because you'll be better than me.
Isn't that the oddest thing ever, Selena?
So why should I do that?
Because they run a business.
And so it's like a game. When I was in Zim,
it's live.
I was surprised by how long people stay online. They have data to go on and do some videos, and they had to say, okay, let's do some business and make money. They will say, okay, can I have some money? Can you give me this? And I don't have the money. Where do I get it from? And then I was with my other auntie. She was in South Africa for more than 20 years. She went back home now. And she was saying, there's so many things I can do. But because, it's like, okay, I can go and buy that and sell that and do that and do that. But sometimes, people don't want to do that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly. That's why you center the screen. We hear you perfectly. Look, I think our friends in the audience are saying the same thing. So that means Simi says, "What's the best price?" Yes, Simi. Now, look, as Selena's saying, we want stuff. We're willing to pay for stuff. Yes, I get your point, Molly. It's about the value that people get. I think Celeste made a similar point, right? Perceived value. It's not just perceived value. Africans want a freebie. They love a freebie. And that freebie is not always what you think. This is what jars my brain, right? I provide a service. You want you want to publish your book. Why should I buy you a can of Coke to make you think I'm a nice person? What's that? What is this? This is I'm saying that Africans love a freebie. Those who can give them freebies are seen as giving more value. Right? I'm being more believable, more trustworthy. That's crazy. Your local businesses can't be doing. They run a business. Why do you want to fleece them and crack them and crash them? I don't get it.
Well,
Dr. Yvonne, hold on. I'll come to you, Dr. Joseph, and give me one. So let's say from Dr. Yvonne, because I'm keen that we hear from her, because Dr. Yvonne is not going to scream and shout. But I say, and if you got something to say, just join in and say it, my friend. Dr. Yvonne, the mic is yours. I'll make sure no one speaks apart from you, until you finish talking. Talk to us. What's your take on this topic?
Well, I'm listening, and there's like three things, right? But I've been doing business in Africa for 9 years now. And it's not business where I'm actually making money for myself. I help women who have gone through a lot of stuff. Most of them are refugees, but they're educated and they were just in the wrong place when the colonizers were trying to take all of our goodies on the continent. And they ended up witnessing the death of their family members and husbands and things of that nature. So, the 9 years I've been working over there, it's been helping small businesses get open, start, or just helping women who are educated and are kind of lost come back into the fold, the economic fold. Um, I don't care where you go as far as doing business, depending on the type of energies you bring towards yourself, whatever you're echoing out there, whatever wherever you are on the continuum of energy, you're going to get what you are giving. All right.
I
So
agree.
it
And
comes back to you, because the way the universe works is if you're wherever your mind goes, energy flows. And that's in every area of your life. But in business, it's the same thing. If you have in your mind that people are bad or people are going to try to beat you out of your capital or whatever, guess what? The universe is just going to keep sending you that kind of stuff because it doesn't understand that you don't want it. It just understands that that's how you think, right? Uh, I don't believe doing business in Africa or doing business in Jamaica or doing business in Korea is any different, all right, than doing business here. The only difference is this: in foreign countries, they want to know the person, they want to know the character.
mhm,
They want to break bread with you first. There's a
yeah,
kinship in
mm,
doing business in Africa and in Jamaica and in all those other countries I just named.
mm,
There's a kinship. It's not just about, okay, I'm going to get this money and I don't really care about you as a person. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care if you beat your wife every day. I don't care if you have a million people out there. I just want to see the money. That's Western civilization, all
mm,
right? They don't care. But when you start doing business with people that actually think that other people are people and not that, oh, this is what I'm going to get from them. Now, in saying that, you have your shysters in every culture. You
mhm,
also have your people that are going to bargain the heck out of you. Um, that was one of my biggest problems here in the United States, but it had to do with demographics as well. And
yeah,
I'm no different than anybody else. I want the best deal. I want the best bang for my buck.
I
But
agree.
I'm not gonna sit and say, oh, every time you do business in Africa, this is what happens. That's a gross generalization.
No,
I
no,
believe,
Dr. Yvonne, Dr. Yvonne,
yes, yes, sir.
the research, don't be like that. The research shows it.
Well, I'm
The
gonna tell you
research
the truth
shows.
because, and Annie, I'm gonna tell you the truth. My experience there has not been the same experience that I've had in the Western civilization. There's
Mhm,
a level of respect, all right? And when I say that, I have respect like all around. I'm being honest. I don't
mm,
think the way that I think and the way that I perceive people, if they're disrespectful to me and my business practices, I don't burn a bridge. I just simply stop doing business with them. But
mm.
I think to say, you know,
No, I
I
was
just
agreeing with you.
Yeah, I just really feel it's a gross generalization. And as far as like women, black women or African women or whomever spending money on certain things, listen, that's every woman that takes care of themselves. Every woman that knows they're the goddess, that they're the princess, or that they're the queen, they want to put themselves together. But not every single woman can afford the different things that we do to ourselves to beautify ourselves. Now, there are some people that would rather do their hair and nails than go to the grocery store. Again, you're talking about demographics.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking about a typical
A culture.
woman,
Mm.
either a businesswoman or a working woman, you know, those kind of people that do their hair and nails and stuff first and maybe feed their kids last or maybe get their kids McDonald's instead of cooking, that's a whole different breed. Whole different breed. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, they come in every color. All
Yeah.
right. Not just black women.
You
Um,
know,
you
no, no,
know?
no, no. There's a big difference between black people and Africans and doing business with them. I hear what you're saying,
Yes.
Dr. Yvonne, but by the time we finish, I think you see where I'm coming from. Affordability is an issue. Yes, Molly, I agree with you. Of course, it is, right? It's the Damaris Media. Thanks for joining us. How you doing? Glad you're here. So, Dr. Bridget, I say to you, and she says, "Energy just hit the nail on the head." Dr. Yvonne. There's a way to sell
I'm
to
back.
Africans. There's a
Yeah.
way to sell. There's a way to sell to Africans. I get it. I know there is.
Yeah.
And many of them you're mentioning. I guess. Look, if you want to sell to Africans, let me give you a few tips. Right. You know, have a woman on the picture. Have a sexy woman on the picture. And no, number two, my friends, don't sell to women in Africa. Sell to the men. The men spend all the money. The women don't want to spend the money. I'm giving you facts, Dr. Evil. Facts. This is not a joke. If you want to sell to African women, do stuff for their kids. They'll buy stuff for their kids every day of the week. And they'll pay ridiculous prices. But they won't do the same for services and products that they might need. Right? I'm saying that there's a way to sell to Africans. I've done the science on this. I know the way to do it. They're building trust. Everyone needs trust, right?
Hmm.
What does trust look like Africa style, Dr. Yvonne? Building trust, essentially, give them a freebie is how you build trust. If you don't give them a freebie, a bargain, something that they think they're beating you. They're beating you down. And they've got, African delight in turning around to their friends and saying, look what I got. And I got a bargain for this. I got a deal.
Well,
This
I mean,
is our
Any,
reality.
any, I hear what you're saying, but that's literally, I mean, I could say that's Jews. I can say that. My company has been around for like 29, not like has been 29 years now. And I got to tell you what I do. I don't have, I have to think about how I'm saying this. Um, Most of my clients are white males.
Hmm.
All right. Because honestly, here in the United States, they're the ones that have the majority of the money to spend. Um, and I can break that down into categories. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I could break it down into categories and um but it doesn't make sense doing that. My thing is, I think anywhere you go, in any country you go, you're going to look at those people that want bargains. I
Mm.
feel like where I'm taking offense to generalizing the African community that way is because it has not been my experience. So I guess we can only speak from our experience then, right? And you can probably speak from data because that's what you do. But from my experience, I have not had that. And as far as women and men buying, being a woman, men buy from me. But being a Black woman, the women in Africa flock to me. So maybe it has something to do with who's selling it to the African women, because all the shops that we've opened, except for the catering business, has been products. It's been hair. It's been jewelry, clothing. Clothing is a big deal because there's a lot of companies now that are out there, and a lot of people are working, in corporate Uganda, if you want to call it that, or corporate Zimbabwe. Clothes. Uh, Now, the bigger purchases, yes, are done by men. The houses, the cars, refrigerators, things like that. But the women there take their time to beautify themselves. They do.
Yeah,
Even the ones that are in open air market, like
I,
they go and buy nice material. It
mm.
might not be matching, but it's nice. Do you know what I'm saying? It
Well,
might not be matching,
it's
but it's
different,
nice.
and yeah, it's different, and it gets that they can show off. They can create a sense of envy, a sense of pride. I've got this, you haven't.
Yes. But you know what? You are true. They do everything for their children.
Mm,
And the school fees there are killing them.
mm,
And so that's part of the thing too. When they say I don't have all of this money, there's no free education there right now, except for what's going on with Ibrahim Traore.
mm.
They get put in a place where everything costs something, just like every other country, really. But
Yeah.
the fees are so high for them to educate their kids. But guess what? They find a way to educate their kids.
Mm. Yeah, no,
So,
I hear
you
you.
know, yeah.
Right, let's talk to Dr. Joseph, and then we'll keep the conversation going. Interesting insights there. I hear, like, of course, I hear a lot of what you're saying, Dr. Yvonne. Maybe the question I'm asking in the back of my mind is, how do we move forward? Do we need to now? Do we need to move forward? Do we have a problem, Dr. Joseph? Are we just fine as we are?
You're asking a question whose answer is obvious. There is no going back. That's
So,
moving forward.
where are we, where now? Who are we as a people when it comes to buying, and where are we going?
Well, let me just make a general comment before that question, if you let me. First, I want to thank Dr. Van for her points. I also want to thank Tamarat for his point. Because, you see, in this world of ours, um, everything is driven by experience and perceptions. And each and every one of us develop our perceptions, our mindset, if you will, and act based on those. Some are good, some are bad, and some are terrible. It all depends on circumstance. So, having said that, um, you know, if you look at it in much broader way, I agree with Dr. Van that sometimes it's circumstance an individual find him or herself. You may be buoyant. You have some discretionary amount to spend on something, and when you see it, you do. Or you may have money and you can meet somebody who needs money, and in your mind, you just say, if God were to be coming here, he would say, give this person who is a beggar money. Don't give the person $1. Give him some money that will be actually surprise the person. Again, the situation you are in, the circumstances that drive you, multiple of which you know, and some of them you don't know. but you operate based on collective evaluation of all those things. Now, as far as going back, I don't know who used the term don't burn bridges. It's very, very important that people who are in business do not burn the bridge or bridges. Because when you burn one bridge, that bridge may actually bring you more connections that you couldn't even fathom. And you cannot predict. But just that the way the world works. So as far as going forward, ladies and gentlemen, each time I come to this program, it makes me so happy because each thing or perspective that one expresses, if you look deeper, on shallow, you may say, oh, this is not good. But if you look broad and deeper enough, you see the value of that information. That's why I'm always keen into let people come up with the ideas. Don't throw away anything until you start evaluating them. So, in reference to how we work, I would say this is a platform that encourages everyone. If you look at going back to the thing I'm trying to work on now, look at the meeting they had in 1884 in Brussels, summoned by German Chancellor, and in that meeting they were only Europeans, and the subject of the meeting was how to divide Africa, and there was no Africa in that meeting. And the thing that they did then is still the way it is. It was then, to some extent, it is also today. And that has shaped minds. Now, I hate to say it this way, but let me use myself as example. When I first started working, I was teaching at University of uh, Illinois, and those days I was shipping things left and right to Nigeria, where I came from, and these things were going well. All of a sudden, things began to get lost continuously. The computer center opened that people were doing all kinds of things. That was the time they had 11 employees working full time there. It was folded. Now, some of them, it's not necessarily that people wanted to do bad. It's just a circumstance of people. When you haven't eaten, you go to Maslow's theory of hierarchy of need. Go to the first level. It gives you a sense of what we are in. Not to say that the comments you're all making are not. You made the excellent points. But the question, how do we go forward? I would say that we're gonna be mindful of all those things. So when we are dealing with one another, be a little kind, and with
Yeah.
that, we can be moving forward even beyond your imagination. I'm gonna stop there.
Look, and thank you so much for for sharing your genius with us, Dr. Joseph. And I agree with you. I agree with you in everything you say. Yes, there might be remnants of colonialism. The word I do hate, but it's what it is, right? There might be. Look, part of this conversation is the impact that this way of being has on all of us, on our businesses, our societies, our communities. That's why I mentioned community in the description, right? So Molly, let me say this. If someone doesn't want, if you're selling to the wrong person, yes, of course, then they can just say no, Molly. Priorities, I hear what you're saying, but priorities, my beef is when people want what you're selling. They need what you're selling, right? But so, I think I looked online today, and you know what? The only topic I've never found a video on is this topic. How do you sell to Africans? There's a way to sell to Africans. and they'll happily pay. I gave you a few of them. Prioritize their kids, prioritize their men, have lovely women half naked on your picture. Think of what you see every day as my African friends in the audience. You see this every day. We all see this every day. You see, the big businesses know one thing, which is that most Africans are not going to read a billboard. That you're going to look at a picture. And they like the picture, which they normally do, they will buy. As Dr. Yvonne's saying, look, if you want to sell stuff in Africa, get pretty women to lead your business, to be your salespeople. You can get some men if you sell to women, especially. But Africans love that lovely looking. What is sexuality? Let's not beat about the bush. They're selling sexuality, and I just think all of that is just odd. It's odd. Dr. Joseph, coming back to your point, my friend. What does corruption happen? Because people need. No, not always, Dr. Joseph. They're not always broke. The problem is that we have this mentality that we never have enough money. However much we have, this we see this every day. A corrupt government. Why does a man need billions in the bank in a US account when you're president of Nigeria? Why do we need all that money? Believe you, 100 million, my friend, is enough for everything you want to buy. But no, you keep squandering away our money away. Even the policeman keeps nicking money, keeps taking bribes and taking what to call it? It's not even fake fines. They're standing on the road and taking money, right? It's highway robbery because they're never in their minds and everything. They've got enough money. They have enough money. Many will give their kids money, $1 a day. They say to us, Africans earn less than $1 a day. It's not true. It's not true. They give their kids $1 a day to go and spend on food, on kid stuff. And then they'll look at me as a business owner and say, I can't afford it. Again, my beef is not those who want to buy from me. My beef is those who buy local. Buy local, my friends. Buy local. But don't make the local businesses have to jump through hoops. Because if you don't buy local, if you don't buy from your shops, your business, your market stores at a fair price, they will never grow. And if they never grow, they will never employ people. They never create jobs, and they never create wealth. And this is how we keep ourselves stuck. And then we bring this mentality to the Western world when we have people in diaspora. I say, if you gave me $1 for every time an African said to me, any best price, or any, I can't pay that. You can pay it. You just don't want to pay it because you seem to think something. You're thinking as if you are in Nigeria, where you think you have no money, but you have money. Pay for what you want. Pay more than that. Maybe I'm saying something. I'm saying to you, if you want the best, pay for the best. Don't want the best, need the best, and pay mediocre, cheap money. And the African thing, Dr. Joseph, what Africans say very often is simply, I can get it cheaper somewhere else. I know you can. Go and get it then. Don't come to me to get it cheaper here because I'm not gonna do it cheaper. I'm not gonna make a loss to serve you. So then they go without, Dr. Joseph. They go without. They can't improve their lives. They can't grow. They can't move on the Maslow hierarchy of needs. They can't move their minds beyond survival. When by now they should be on sex actualization because they're in the Western world. They're earning good money, and they really want things to help them get to the next level in their lives. Whether it's courses, whether it's even employing people, Dr. Joseph. If we don't pay our people correctly, how are they meant to survive? We don't see that this is a whole big cycle that we create ourselves, and we do it every day.
I can't say that I don't agree with you. And just as I was stressing, we all have to be mindful of sort of being at the middle in order to observe and make, of course, valid judgment and try to be as candid as we can. And I'm going to touch on what you said on two levels. First, that we have leaders who squander our wealth is not necessarily just the fault of those leaders. I think it's fault of our ordinary people who sometimes may think that, if I get, say, 10, 10 naira from this person is for me. But they don't know that 10 naira the person gets will cost the person in long run so much money that they cannot count.
Mm-hmm. I
So
agree.
they leave great leaders who could do something. Sometimes they push them away. And or the people may say, well, I don't want to make trouble, just let me go and let it go that way. That's on one part. So the blame can go around. On the part you are talking about, being able to pay again, want and you have needs and wants and the ability to, of course, back up that want. That's another crucial thing. And I like to use myself as an example when I can. And I want to use this one. And yeah, at last time, I think I contacted you. I told that I was working with a good friend of mine, that we
Yeah.
have a series of work we are trying to work on.
On your books.
Right, on the books. And the first one, I told that I would like to see if we can get it to your end for you to get it done. And in my heart, everything within my, me is that we're gonna strive to make sure that you get it done. Now, of course, I told you because I try to be very candid with people as much as I can. When we discussed about it, said that he had already committed with some Indian fellow. I said, okay, maybe next time we're gonna work on that. Now, I know I spoke to you about it because that's not what I'm looking at. But I'm looking at when somebody doesn't do one thing or the other, or does the way we expect, or does the other way we don't expect. Sometimes we may not be able to decipher the reasoning, what may had either encouraged the person to do or impeded the person's ability to do. So either way, it could be interpreted as negative, and we may not see that, even though that it has these positive, trajectories, but we may not see it that way. So that's to say that people we think that may have money or they don't pay just because they don't pay, or we assume that they have money, may actually not have that money. And we are in that time when, if you are perceived not to have money, people will trample on you. And there are some people who exhibit this wealth that they don't have. And of course, if somebody exhibits that wealth, your judgment of that person will be based on that perceived, having possession of such wealth. The person just doesn't want to spend it.
And
While in fact,
Joseph,
it may not be true.
Joseph,
Yes, ma'am.
I don't you think that a lot of people kind of categorize Africans as like a whole, and there's just so many different cultures and different upbringings that it's really hard to say, like, you know, oh, Africans really should, save their money better. That's such an unfair statement, and I personally, I have seen that through different friends of mine, and also different cultures. I own a painting company, and so I definitely market different to different types of Indians. Because there's a lot of Indians here in my suburb, and I market different to the elderly versus a young new couple buying their home. So I think it's very hard to just subjugate, uh, you know, everything into one category, even though there is so much generational trauma that has happened within the Black community.
You know,
You, you mentioned Dr. Joseph, so I'll let him answer. Thanks, Joni.
okay. Um, while I agree with you that we all are individuals, and of course, bagging on what you said, we have different experiences, and some people may say, "Oh, this person is not saving," and the people that save, we say, "Hey, he has money, he just saves and hoard money." And it's still like you don't know.
They can't win. They can't win either way, right?
You can't win. The thing that I tell people, just provided your conscience is clear, do what you think is true. Sometimes just don't worry about what people say. Right now, we are in communication with former Minister of Education, Dr. Madubike. His polytechnic had about 20 people. I think we stated this last time, who came here and compete. Well, not they didn't come here, but they operated via online program, and they did all kinds of work. Some learned how to do website, and one of the people that learned through that company, we connect the dot in New York. That person is now the best um, web designer we've ever had at SDIG. Now, we are now working in partnership with that school to see if we can begin to do more of it, to expand those type of things. Now, if somebody happen to get there and succeed and begin to say work in European countries, North American, everywhere. Now, one person may go there and be able to make money, whether is the person sending young people, youngsters, or people sending people who can actually speak the language and convince people with marketing techniques that his or her service is better. That might be what will get the beef for him or her. And the other person may not. He may actually do the thing better. They may not be able to communicate it as the other person may communicate. And that means the person will not even utilize the skills he has to make what he or she deserves.
Yeah, looking at, I agree with you. The lessons there.
And so
go on,
what I'm
Dr. Joseph.
saying is like, let's just all continue to support each and every one of your team. If you what I would say going forward, let me just put this because you asked this question. Going forward, I will encourage you with the platform and the caliber of people you get in this platform. Try to develop a database where you can put them and all the things they are associated with, and have others being able to get there and determine whether whoever does what you want, you encourage everyone to go to them, that they are the people. The same is true with when you say, oh, you know what, in local community, you're gonna do this. Say, like here in my county, they have a time where the county will say, buy from businesses within the county. Now you say buy the businesses within this sphere. Now through that process, you may be the person that will make another millionaire there. and that person may turn around to be able to help other people. So what I would say is that, in fact, that's what I would suggest that you could do, because it could benefit all those people that come to you, and by so doing, it will also expand their business. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
I like that. Solutions, how we move forward. I like that for sure. Dr. Yvonne, I will come to you because I know you'd be flash your mic. I have to welcome the love of our life, Dr. Lisa. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Menopause dietitian, specialist, genius. What else can I call you? If Dr. Lisa says it all right. I'm Nigerian. If I call you a doctor, it means you are the greatest. You're at the top of your game, Lisa. So thanks for being here. Look, my friends, now Joni, let me answer. Let me say that here's my thoughts on your question. Here's the reality, which is part of my conversation today. Dr. Yvonne mentioned what you said. You can't generalize. We can. Here's why. Here's why I'm generalizing in a big way, right? Here's the point, my friends. There are 54 countries in Africa. 54, right? All 54 are at the bottom of the list of companies or the countries that create jobs. We're not. Look, let's not be dumb. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like I keep saying, the heart of any community, the heart of any country, the heart of any society is small businesses. Why? Because small businesses create jobs. To do that, they must grow, they must become profitable. It can't be that all African countries are at the bottom of the list. It can't be. That's ridiculous. That's why I know we're not paying the price for them to grow, for them to be profitable, for them to employ people. That's not right. That's wrong.
Amy,
That's why I'm
Amy,
arguing.
I have to argue right here.
Go for it.
I just must.
Please feel free.
The reason why, and everything is coming to light now, but the reason why the continent is in the situation that it's in has a lot to do with the first little convention that Professor Joseph was talking about, where the Europeans got together without any African people and decided, oh, here's a continent that we could, they're black or, you know, whatever they are. Let's just go ahead and take all their stuff and let's just go ahead and keep them in the dark while our streets are just lit up and our people are wearing all these expensive leather and eating all this exquisite chocolate. And I mean, the thing about what you're saying is you had people that had no right infringing themselves in other people's land. Then they decided, oh, you're black, so you don't know what to do with all these riches. Let us trick you and let us steal from you. It's not enough damage that we're killing all the Aboriginal people and all the other countries, you know, and all the other islands. Let's go ahead and just continue to rape and use Africa. The reason Africa and all those 50 plus states are in that space that you're talking about, Annie, is because they were tricked, bamboozled, and they were set upon, colonized. Now they understand what's going on. And, you know, you have to think about the fact that you can be in Africa or in Jamaica or in any of those islands, and the crime rates don't compare. And I can only talk about the United States, but I can talk about other countries too, to what's going on here. And, you know, to also say that every black person has had the same situation or the same life, that no, I that's not true. I was raised on the North Shore. I immigrated to Illinois when I was 1.5. My father was a civic mechanical engineer. Okay, he ran a company in Lake Forest. I did not go through the same thing that someone on the west side of Chicago went through. So you can't just say, oh, well, they're black, so they have to go through that. No. Just like every other nation in the world, you have the classes of people. And it's not true that one circumstance is the identical mimic of another circumstance. Look at what has happened in the last 2 years without Western interference, thievery, lying, and deceit. Look at what's happened. Abraham Traore has built up the whole freaking country, and now in the Sahel, there are other people joining. If they were not tricked, bamboozled, and all that other stuff, we would be in the running. Africa would be in the running, and it would be on top. Why? Because our resources would be for us to use, not to be stolen from us. So I don't think that you can actually even look at those facts right now, because everything is changing and things are getting settled the fair way. So now we're going to see which countries are going to be on that little list that they so eloquently made and decided to stomp on the back of the country that is lighting their streets and everything else. It killed me when I was thinking about taking a trip to Switzerland. And they send you all this information. Come on, Swiss chocolate, Swiss chocolate, Swiss chocolate. And it occurred to me that they don't tell anybody where they're getting their chocolate, just how fine and how wonderful and how lovely it is. And they leave out the fact they get all their chocolate from Africa, all of it. And they pay nothing for it, nothing. But then when you go to buy Swiss chocolate, you're paying an arm and a leg. Where in that could the places where they're taking the chocolate from have a fair and equitable trade? There's no way. So I think that might have been something that might have gone over before, but it's not going to go over anymore, because now the truth about all this raping, pillaging, lying, cheating, stealing is coming out, and the African people understand that, you know what, we might be a little bit too kind to these people. It's time for us to look after our people. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, look, I hear you. Like colonialism is, it's happened. It may I'm not gonna, what that's happening now. That's a conversation, right? But my belief, Dr. Yvonne, is that it's time for us to rise. I agree with you. That's what Joseph saying. We need to find ways forward, and we need to come. Nigeria was liberated from independence in 1960. Yes, someone's going to argue with me and say, "Oh, but the white people are still in charge." It's not true. Our destiny is in our hands now. Hopefully, we'll see the change you're talking about, Dr. Yvonne. Hopefully, we do. But it starts with us. This is why I'm
It
having a
starts with
conversation
us.
now. It
Yes,
starts with
I
us. It's like,
agree. I agree.
and part of that is what we do. Ruth, again, I see what you're saying. Ruth saying, I believe most people will also want great leaders, but they are being oppressed by men with guns and ammunition. Isn't that the truth? Too many wars. Too many wars. Nobody goes into a fight with someone with a gun empty-handed. I agree. Look, we have our problems. We need to deal with these, but most of us don't have these problems. Most
Annie,
of us. Go on.
If you allow me, I just want to make a point. Um, the point you made about Nigeria as an example, you are correct, but you cannot divorce what Nigeria was left with in a larger context. Now, it's equivalent to what Vaughn was alluding to. When these European countries met, they had only two things to discuss. One was how to separate the continents, or rather the countries. And second was, or rather the most important one was, how they can go there without fighting one another. So when they got the first one done, the second one was easy. They divided it well. If you start going deeper into it, you see that Britain was from India and all these things down to South Africa and some other African countries, including, of course, Nigeria. Now, the Nigerian destabilization can never be understood without contextualizing those in the tribal areas, how it was demarcated. And the demarcation wasn't on basis of the cultural situations, but purely on the basis of how they could be controlled. And through that control, different grounded influence or granular influences, ensued. And those are the things that, if you look at Nigeria today, we have about how many tribes? 52, the last time I checked.
Too many, some would say.
I'm sorry?
Too many, some would say. There are too
Right.
many tribes.
And we have three major ones, the Hausa, the Igbos, and the Yorubas. And nothing goes well because that division is still as viable as it was then, but perhaps even worse today. You cannot divorce that from the problem. You go to Congo, the war there. You go to even Cameroon, small country, it's divided between the English and the French. And all these things, I'm not saying that we're going to say that's it. No, we can never give up. But I want us to be kind to ourselves while at the same time pushing for progress. What can be done? Going back to your question, which I think is the most valuable question in this session. How do we move forward? Because forward is a given. There's not, you can't go back. As one of my friends would say, I can't go back to my mom's womb. That's where I would love to go and relax. But you can't. so, so you gotta be going forward. And to go that forward, this integrated engagement is vital.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
I don't mean to be down on you too much,
No.
Lenny.
So again, no, I guess, like I say, 1960 was 85 years ago, right? That's
It
a long.
doesn't.
We have to play catch up.
Psychological,
Yeah, this is it.
sociological, those things are still factoring into
It's
that equation.
psychological. We've now made it intergenerational, Doctor Joseph. We've now made it. We've now made it. We'll pass it on to our kids. I say this because my again, look, this issue of price sensitivity, it docks even those in diaspora. Those who were born in the diaspora have they've been somehow they've taken on the trauma, and they still don't want to pay your price. That's crazy.
I don't believe. I don't believe that they don't want to pay, especially those that have it. I'm not saying there are not some people who are really greedy, which is not good. But again, as Dr. Vaughan said, we don't generalize it because the people that are fit into your narrative may be actually very little, insignificant.
I
You
know
may have observed them.
it's not insignificant because
I'm not gonna win this game. So this
you're not.
argument,
You're
I'm
not.
just trying.
I promise this.
You're not gonna believe. You're not gonna agree with me. I'm not
No,
gonna agree. So let's just,
I'm not going to be that rude. Of course, you have points that I agree with. Dr. Ivan has points I agree with. Generalization could be an issue, yes. But then I think the reason I always pause is because I think the generalization works both ways, right? We can't say all Africans can afford what you sell. This is not about Africans buying from the West. This is about Africans buying from down the street, right? And even then, they're still, you can't squeeze a business so much that you kill it, and that's what we're doing every day.
Okay, I agree with that part a little bit because I can honestly say that when it's my own people, I told you most of my clients are white males that are opening businesses or running businesses, right? Um, because they have the money, and it's also because of where I live, right? But I also have a lot of black clients who opened, well, black American clients and black Jamaican clients, right? My black Jamaican clients, I never have to go to them and say, it's time for you to pay. They pay. They know when the date is. They don't want anyone coming to them saying, you owe. Jamaican people are really weird. They don't want anyone to come and say they owe. And they're not going to stand in line for a check, like from the government or whatever. They're going to work like, a million jobs. That part of Jamaica is true. And I can actually make that be a generalization because we have a lot of pride. Some of it might be false, but we don't want anybody knocking on our doors at all. Now, my Black American clients, and again, this might be a little general, I've been stiffed by many of them. Many of them. So I have to be more careful when working with them. And I have had to initiate across the board, though, that they have to put down, they have a reserve for the business, and we work that out. So if you want to talk about that part of this book, I can't even say that word sometimes. Black folks out there, um, that might be true to a certain degree, but I really have not had that problem with any black folks that are foreign. And I am going to say African because I work with some Africans here too. And one of my partners, I'm literally sitting in her office right now. She's from Togo, and she has a business in Togo. Um, so I guess some of what you're saying, Annie, is accurate, but it's not so accurate that it's everybody that looks like us. I guess that's where I'm at with that. But you're right with certain things.
No, I hear you. Dr. Joseph said it very well earlier. In these events, it's not. No, I guess I don't. No, we don't care to be right. If you come to speak, then you don't come. There's no point trying to be right because ultimately, what happens? What Dr. Joseph said. People will listen to us. They will take away either what you say or what I say. Maybe a mixture of both, or they take away nothing, like we said, which is fine. It's fine by me, right? We've had a conversation. If one person takes something away from our conversation, Dr. Yvonne, I'll take that every day of the week. That's what we're here for. But Molly, I think your points, I think, stand. Cyrus, I'm going to come to you next. Hopefully you're ready. Molly says, our beloved people still believe products or services made by us and are inferior. And this is part of our mindset. We don't want to buy local, pay full price for local because we think somehow or another it's not as good as that made by others. Of course, we don't want to pay the full price for what others make either.
I will tell you this that happens to me with some of my black clients. What happens is they come to me, they come and they say, "Oh, well, we respect you, and um, we know that you're valuable," and they'll come and they'll pick and they'll pick and they'll pick, and then you'll say, "Okay, these are my fees." They disappear. But then just look across the street and they're running to give that money to a white person who has no idea, that you've been sitting there putting them through the steps. That's why I do business a little bit differently now, a lot differently, because I used to think that, when someone comes to you, their word is their bond. And, I don't try to chase the dollar. I want the dollar to chase me. All right. So I am not like one of those gatekeepers where I will not share information. I could share all the information. If you don't know how to use that information, you're
You're,
still going to need me.
you're wasting your time. Look, no,
Exactly.
no, say,
And
no,
then, oh,
go,
go
go.
ahead.
Please finish off now. Please finish. No, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, and they'll take everything I give them, right? Because believe it or not, I know what I'm talking about.
Mm,
And um, what I don't know, I tell my clients, let me find out for you, because nobody knows everything. But in this circumstance, I'm just talking about this circumstance here. Um, they've done that time and time and time again. So I've had to set reserves for them,
mm. Yeah,
and so you can't just set it for one group of people. I had to set it, that had to be something new going across.
yeah,
But
it
I've
becomes
experienced that a lot.
there
Yeah.
has to be a system in your business. You have to systemize the processes. Look, I realized this one day. I had to make sure I get paid. And that's why all my clients have to sign an agreement. And then the important thing in the agreement, they think is many things, but it's not. It's only one thing that's really important to me, which is if you don't pay, I'm taking you to court. That's the part that. And I had a lawyer drop the agreement, so I know what you mean, right? But there is something in that. Let me try a different way. See, when I was trying to set my topic last night, I thought, what do I want to talk about? Well, what I really want to talk about, Dr. Yvonne, is why don't we support each other as Black people? Now, the Asians,
I don't know. Don't know. I
right? So
don't
now,
know.
I'll bring the topic back another day. Of course, I will. Welcome, Professor Roxana. I see. I don't know whether. Yeah, you just joined us. So welcome, welcome. All right. I think there's an issue here where the Asians, they buy from each other. The Chinese buy from each other. I said the Asians, the Indians, and the Pakistanis, and that parts of South Asia, they buy from each other. If they have an event, they will all turn up. I mean, hundreds in a room. Africans, I've seen hundreds of Africans in a room. 150 in Dr. Amaka's rooms, right? Which is useful. And I said it gives me confidence, but I still think we can support ourselves. We can support each other more. But as Black people, we seem to struggle with this concept of supporting each other and believing each other's genius. Maybe that's what it is, right? It might come down to Dr. Joseph's point. If you're not a good marketer, you're screwed. However good you are, you're in trouble, right? It might be all of that. But I think we do need to move forward somehow from we need to move forward and learn how to support our businesses. Otherwise, nothing works. Everything that I can think of that's bad comes down to not supporting our local businesses, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in the diaspora. We need to change that mindset. Spending money with ourselves is not a bad thing. No, I'm not a great fan of here in the UK we have Black Wednesday or Black no not Black Wednesday in Amazon's one. We have Black People Day where you shop with Black Business Days. I'm not into that, but I'm saying we should naturally. If you want the best, go where the best is. Sometimes it's a Black person who's got the best, but they're like, no, as you're saying, Dr. Yvonne, I'm going across the road to the white person because the other person, whoever they are. No, they're not always white. I'm saying we need to change that mindset. We need to change that and become more supporting of our businesses than trying to screw them and beat them down into the ground. That's
Uh,
all I'm saying.
I'll give you a perfect example. Somebody came to me, a man came to me, and he had a show. And the show, contingent on him securing certain things, it was going to be aired. NBC and NBC was buying it for, I think it was 9 episodes, but he had to finish the pilot. And some kind of way he found out who I was, and he came to me, but he came to me when there was less than 12 days, 12 days for him to complete the pilot so that NBC would give him the green light for the other 9 episodes, right? Came at the very last moment. And the amount that he needed was between, I think it was between 1.2 million and like 10 million. I mean, he put like a huge cap on it, right? He said, if I can get anywhere between that, I can finish this and I can do that. He had all I said, yeah, but what do you really need to finish the pilot to land that multi-million-dollar contract with NBC? Well, I honestly only need, I think he said like 500,000. But the people that he needed to pay it off so that they could finish editing and everything, the people that were shooting it, the production studio. Anyway, I had to deal with venture capitalists and some other things. And, I said, well, there's no guarantees. You've only given me 12 days and you've had this thing for however long. And I said, I'll try because it's part of what I do. And I got 2 bites. So I set up the meetings, and one of them was willing to give him, I think it was close to 300,000 or something like that. And the other one was just like, no, it's not enough time, and I'm going to lose my shirt, right? In the long run, he had to abandon the idea because even when he came to me with those 12 days left, he did not come telling the complete truth. And so I did all of that work in 12 days to get 2 people on the hook for over $1 million. And the man didn't even come honest, And then in the end, I said, okay, well, the effort was valiant, but you don't have all the information they need. Here's the bill. And he was like, but what did you do? What? This is the kind of stuff consultants deal with. That's why we put those mechanisms into place, and like what you're talking about, the contract and all of that. But I believe that he still would have jumped out on the contract, because NBC basically told him no pilot contract is not going to happen. So, sometimes you have situations like that where you do the work and they still don't want to pay you.
No, for
They
sure.
still
Look,
don't.
I think everyone here is a consultant, really. I know Dr. Joseph, he's a legend. So, he's been doing his DI work for years. So, he's a fixture more than a consultant, right? I get it. So, it's Dr. Roxana in the audience. So, look, we're all consultants, and we need to learn how to. Another conversation I'm going to have. How do we really build a business? What does that mean as Africans? What can we learn? Where can we learn? These are all things we need to learn, Dr. Yvonne. Let me go to Cyrus. Cyrus, be very, 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 very patient. You are a gem, my friend. You haven't shared on the topic, Cyrus. Now, what's your take on our price sensitivity?
Thank you so much for having me. And I've been learning from Dr. Yvonne and Joseph and yourself, Annie, and of course Joni. Thank you for sharing what you shared so far. You all made valid points, and regarding price, in a sales process, the parts in reality, right? The part that is of least importance is the price, ironically, right? So why am I saying that? If my sight is set on the price, that means I've lost sight of the value, because a human being, from the mind to the retina in your eyes, to the lens in your eyes, you can only focus on one thing at a time, right? So I can't focus on two things at a time, and I can never hunt two rabbits that I'm chasing. I can hunt neither of them. So I have to be focused on one thing. It's a human nature thing, right? So if I'm focused on the price, what is it that I can't be focused on the value? So I've done a little bit of research, and I've come to the conclusion that the nations that value haggling, like they are really, really big on haggling and pricing, those are the nations predominantly. This is not generalization. Please do your own research. This is just a personal view. You can do your own research. So nations that are famous for haggling, they have failed economies. So, or they have low quality economies, and they have very flimsy economies. Why is it? It's because the focus is always on the price. What is it that they're not looking at when the focus is on the price? The value. So when you're after value, sometimes you have to pay more. Okay, so you have to, because value, to maintain value, a provider needs to spend money. When they spend money, they have to pass on that economic strain onto the customer. That's a natural order of things, right? So in my view, business is like a very, very long skating competition. And that's the reason why I'm going to make sure the skates that I'm choosing are not cheap ones, because otherwise I would be a cheapskate, wouldn't I? So if you if you care about the service and the product that you are getting, you always need to focus on the quality. As my dad always said, I'm not rich enough to buy cheap stuff, because to his point, if it breaks down, yeah, you're gonna have to pay again, right? So that's double loss. So now, in terms of the nations of hagglers that I just mentioned, if you look at the economy, they almost always have a very low GDP per capita. Again, please do your own research. And to address what you mentioned earlier, Annie, regarding the demographic, if you're familiar with that kind of demographic, right? Because there's no point in arguing over how a demographic behaves, okay? Because we're not in control of that. In sales, we have to stick to the things we can control, right? So the things you can't control is end user behavior. So I can't decide how you're going to react to something, but if I've dealt with you enough times, I can form a pattern in my head. So I have dealt with that problem in my own business, and I stopped targeting that kind of audience, and I changed the audience, changed the game, change the audience, change the game. That's how it works. So instead of trying to develop my business in a certain continent, I moved everything to a different part of the world, and everything became better, right? So I had two neighbors who are door to door, next door neighbors. They both had BMWs, and one of them hated it, the other one loved it. And I asked the guy who loved BMW, and I asked him, why is it you loved it, and the other guy hates BMW? And he said to me, ask him where he buys it from. Ask him. So I asked him, where did you buy it from? And he said, such and such branch of such and such provider. I said, but that's exactly where the other one, the BMW lover, buys the BMWs from. And he said to me, well, he buys them brand new. I buy them like 10-year-old or 15-year-old. I buy the 10 or 15-year-old ones. And then I realized, so there's a reason you end up in repair shops all the time, and you spend a lot of time and money in those repair shops. It's because you buy 10, 15-year-old BMWs. That's when it's kind of past its sell-by date. So you get what you pay for. Okay, and I have worked with really cheap providers on Fiverr, and I realized when you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So when you pay really low amounts of money to people, you get people who try to imitate doing business. They don't do business with you, and you get what you pay for. That's what I was trying to. That's the point I was trying to convey, really. Thank you for listening.
No, thank you. No, again, I think I agree with you. There's a cost to approaching the market with an intention to beat down the business. There's a cost. Now we have to accept this. This is reality. I think it affects us in many more ways than we may realize. That's point of my conversation today, my friends. Look, there's ways to do business in Africa. I get it. There's ways to give people a bargain. So give them a can of Coke. Apparently, it's enough to do the trick. And someone will come back to your store several times because every time they come, you give them a can of Coke. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But I guess maybe you can think harder. If you really want to sell as an African business, what can you give them that is value to them, as Cyrus is saying, but doesn't cost you much? This is why so many things are there's shoved in Africans' faces, even on here on LinkedIn. They'll tell you it's free. There you take up the free offer, you realize it's not free. There's something, the real products, the introduction's free. The surface thing is free. The basic stuff is free. The real stuff, the good stuff, is behind that, and that costs money. This is our reality, my friends. Look, we'll talk all day about this, but I do have to go. But I will give Dr. Yvonne and Dr. Joseph, I guess, take 30 seconds. Give us your last message for us today here, if you don't mind. Should we say ladies first? Let's say ladies first.
I say that we just all have to continue to work better with each other. And as business people, probably make wiser decisions and put, like you said before, putting things in their rightful place where we don't get burned. But I think we should keep trying, and I know that we're going to level up and we'll be successful. That's what I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's a great wisdom, Dr. Yvonne. Dr. Joseph, now what do you want to leave us with today?
Well, essentially, I think it's all well said. All I can say is that you continue with what you are doing. Where I came from, when you are told that you should continue with what you are doing, it means that you are doing well. And that's to say, this discussion you're engaging, continue with it. And I want everyone not to feel criticized, but to see whatever objection to be another dimension of making things better.
Yeah.
And
please carry on.
I would again say at the end of the day, continue emphasizing the statement. Where do we go from here? What have we done that is good? Pat yourselves on the back, at least for the knowledge. Pat yourself on the back on that, and then generated ideas as to how you're gonna push moving forward to ensure that tomorrow will always be better than today. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. So and the power of the collective that you mentioned earlier, creating that database of people with skills and looking at how we can elevate people. It's something that's a genius idea. So we have to find a way. Who wants to do it? How can we do it? I guess the bigger question is how can we help? If that's you, then do connect with people here, connect with us, and connect with our friends who've been on stage. Connect those in the audience, in the speakers. Connect with those in the comments, my friend. Do connect and let's have those conversations. Cyrus, what's your last message for us today, my friend?
That sounded very sinister. The last word, the last message. So,
I didn't say your last message ever. I said just for us today. I'm gonna go and do him in.
So, it was a fantastic discussion, Annie. So, as the last message, I'm going to say, I'm going to share with you what I actually did for my business, and things became better a little bit in terms of sales and marketing. So what I've done is I since 2020 I started creating that free material that you mentioned. Best free material you can give people, best freebie you can give people is high quality educational material on your website, on your socials, and that's the best lead magnet. And think about what I'm saying and apply it to your business, please, if you want to improve it. So when you go to people trying to sell to them, there are a million objections that you have to handle. When you get them to come to you by encouraging them to come to you, 50% of the problem is solved because they will approach you. Their mentality is entirely different, right? Their mentality is the mentality of a person who needs help. So that changes the ball game. It's a completely, an entirely different ball game when they approach you. And so apply that advice and it will work for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Look, I guess apart from saying, do join us again in 2 weeks' time, and thank you so much to all my amazing speakers. I stand and fall thanks to your genius. So thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for sharing so beautifully. Of course, those in the audience, Ruth, I see you, Dr. Roxana, Lisa, Molly, so Dr. Bridget, welcome. I say thank you so much all for joining us. Simi, I have to mention you, of course. Thank you so much for joining us. And everyone who's spoken today, Tamrat, I do see you in the audience as well, of course. Vanessa, I could carry on. There's many people who are here. Go to the comments, my friend, and do engage with them. Look, on the learning side, I'd say I learned a lot that I've shared today from a book called How to Sell to Africans. And there's semicolon two dots. So and then learn the fail-proof method to effectively grow sales in Africa. I mean, his name is Kekere Solomon. His name is. I bought it on Amazon, so it's there. So check out that book. Let's learn how to really sell to Africans, because it's not that you can't sell to Africans. People do it every day. You have to understand the mentality and also the thinking and the process that Africans, many of them anyway, expect. That will get them to know you, like you, trust you, buy from you, and be loyal. The knowledge is out there, my friends. There's not many actually. It's like a business secret, right?
Sorry for interrupting. I've changed my photo to an attractive lady, and no one's approached me for purchasing that wine that I'm advertising. What should I do?
Give it a day or two. And I would say that also, she might be overdressed, Cyrus. Cyrus has a point there. Attractive images work in Africa. So look at the marketing to African people. You realize attractive images, they go a long way. Molly says, I use the midwife as a general nurse analogy. Molly, what's that then? Oh, Molly, say, if you can explain to us what it is very quickly, right? Does anyone know this analogy? I'm sure we don't. Molly, I'll talk to you later. I'll just put it in the comments. That way we can go and read it afterwards, right? My friends, I do have to go. So thank you so much. So join us again in 2 weeks' time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on our next topic. I might talk about this issue of how do we support each other more? That's likely my next topic, but we'll get there. I bid you all a good evening, and hopefully I'll see you in the next few days in my events. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Champagne or rum, but she's success with Global.Media.